Okay, we're starting right now. Half a day Zantiro, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. The Senate Standing Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Workforce, also known as REDW, is here today to obtain status. Oh, wrong script. Hang on. Short recess. Sorry, rise back from recess. Let me start over. Half a day Zantiro, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. The Senate Standing Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Workforce, also known as REDW, is here today to review and discuss the proposed bills that have been referred to this committee for deliberation and action. At this time, I would like to inform the public that this committee meeting is being streamed live on the legislature's Facebook page and YouTube channel. I would also like to ask everyone before we begin to please silence your electronic devices to minimize any disruptions. I am Senator Karina L. Magovnia from the 3rd Senatorial District, chairperson of the Senate Standing Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Workforce. And before we begin our order of business, I would like to recognize our Legislative Bureau support staff who are assisting us today. We have our legal counsel, Antoinette Villa-Gomez, our senior legislative assistant, Jolene Duenas-Tagabuel, our IT, Mr. Jonathan Diaz, and our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Benjamin Terlai. I now call this meeting to order. Today is January 29, 2026, Thursday. It is approximately 9:13 a.m. here at the Commonwealth Legislature, Capitol Hill, Saipan. LA, please call the roll.
Senator Ronnie M. Cowell,
Present.
Senator Manny Gregory T. Castro,
Stiga.
Senator Francisco Q. Cruz, Senator Karina L. Magovnia,
Present.
Senator Donald M. Mangonia, Senator Paul A. Mangonia.
Here.
Madam Chair, 4 members are present, 2 members are absent.
Thank you, Ms. Jolene. With 4 members present, we meet the necessary quorum to conduct today's meeting. Let the record reflect that Senator Calvo is joining us virtually on the island of Rhoda, and Senators Donald and Cruz will be joining us shortly. Thank you. Okay, can I please get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So move, Madam Chair. Second.
Thank you. A motion was offered and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. The agenda for today's meeting is hereby adopted. Next item on the agenda is public comment. The floor is now open for anyone in the gallery who wishes to provide comments and testimonies relevant to today's agenda. If you are providing comments, please state your name for the record and the entity you represent. I kindly ask that you keep your comments under 5 minutes to allow others to provide comments as well. The floor is now open for public comments.
Madam Chair, can we have a copy of the agenda? At least the agenda.
Sure. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we can give this to her.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of this committee. Half a day. Nanu si Edwin Raymond Boar Kirugua. Gaigizu gini paugu pa bi diskuti I rasonu na gaigizu na tumotogizu gini gaigizu pa bisangan na tu aprueba ezi 99 anos na un pumakila siya tano gini yalo maranas sa pulmento manyunyulizu magi gini za tutungo ko legislative bureau singa makopya todos ti lo este na documento Madam Chair only este na documento na optimum malit za I wanna be on the record Zigana parifaisin amju toru intermento un este na question ni u fafaisin i papaguma ututunzu kisang papa lo malago zu pagubi faisin amju gini isanilu na guma the Americano the nexus to this question is ties to the subject being going to be discussed this morning. I pose this question to each and every member in this panel. Do you believe, in all honesty, that there is an Article 12 in existence today? Why? I've presented proof, not just to the lower house, even to the Governor of Guam administration, Silu Guerrero. I am telling you, with years of research, this document was certified by Mr. Song Sung from Lands and Survey in 2019. Este na dokumento tayo tala. Diste gumaju San Roque, Tanapak, Garpan, San Jose, San Antonio, Tinan, Jan Luta. Uno na membron Delegate Luta, former Senator Victor Okuk, agof tungo por este. Bisangan namzu senadots, taza, gizoku, kinimprendek ko Americano, my comprehension and analysis. The Bishop Apurong case in Guam will legitimate what I'm saying. Estama confirmed last month, and I'm received by the Legal Counsel for Lugorero over 300 pages. Este na documento going back to the trust territory. Este na leku tamano este siya na gumadus ni manotogi gyalo maranas este ujumin saya na estapago izun a Bishop of Guam a sole corporation taidut kumalelenga lalala este na taidut ma-confirm yes Mr. Song Sung pues kumulalala estalo ki ma-confirm ginin Guam ni ana ma-receive siya na dokumento esta tinanaw tono po ma-compensaya eji siya maninafekta na ni man siniut ni ejibidan niya i katoliko na bispo. Pues mono sempre po maligo puro na kabalis po mafamaposes siya. Sempre mababa maranas sangkatan. Sofa lalalas din na tayo. Pues kumulilingan ng lalalay tayo za ma-certify against Mr. Song Song. Then it is answerable to the process of liquidation to compensate. So, jigino dagos din ang question guzamzo ko magay gitinigi ilay ko footmod na gay sa Article 12 kumabatos ti magyo gyalo maranas sadan esti pufatu that's no question it's gonna come it's the question is what day and what time and what year.
Dispensa, Mr. Kitugwa, pabinatungo wa ko respeto na you have 1 minute before we
Jesus
turn
mercy,
over.
Madam Chair.
Sista.
Lo tibian anak ko mas of pabisangan na bi sotta no na palabraw gizamzu pagu por asu ko magas aga git estisya u langnus na ebidensya ti go tumugi na tinigi mapus na tempo. Ejira lordogoan mababa is 1975 i-covenant mafima da Tinas i-finanan na gobyerno Maranas 1976 no. Mo na pagu. Tamanus din na dokumento na puro slip and slide alum gizot the covenant that doesn't renegotiation prior. Neji, since we became a new government, this should have been renegotiated. Sa tempong Bishop Baumgartner ti tempong Felix Bertuste. Si Jesus Masi.
Si just masi Mr. Kitugwa ni mo alam mo po na is mo comment. And no documento niyon chutsuli alam ko pero na copy legislature but maybe not the copy, but if we could just scan it so that the members can have the discretion to either print it out or review it electronically. No? So just want to see it. Okay. The floor is still open.
Chairman, Chairwoman. Yeah, thank you. Much better now. Small seat. Good morning, Afalism. Good morning, Chairman Magofnia, senators and members of this honorable committee, Senator Tenorio Castro and Senator Cruz, and Senator Manglonia from Rhoda, and all the members of the Legislative Bureau. Finina no Dr. Nasus Masi is the chairwoman on babasi na committee para public comment. Sa it's been some of the issues have been lingering man madiskuti sa nizungi komunidad neza no maling na polo neza ta no diskuti sa amzuni members of this honorable body can make a decision no da gogo no dangkulo na si Masi talo ni babasin na oportunidad para public hearing lo tin mind be taite as tigin ni ofo so gigin ya
That's a go.
si Masi. Good morning, everyone. Members of the Senate and especially Chairwoman Magofnia. I'm going to speak in English. This is written in English, so a lot of people that are hearing can understand where we're coming from. I'm here this morning to provide my comments on the following proposed Senate bills and Senate legislative initiative. Now before your committee, Ms. Chairwoman. Number one, I believe this is under new business or old business. I'm not too sure. I don't have the agenda. Senate Bill number 24-23. This is authored by Senator Manny Gregory Castro from the municipality of Senatorial District of the 3rd Senatorial District of Saipan and Northern Islands, and co-sponsored by Senator Chairwoman by you, Senator Magofnia. Quote, to suspend the administration and implementation of the Commonwealth Zoning Code and the Saipan Zoning Law and its amendment for a period of 5 years, and for other purposes. I oppose this bill for the following reasons, and respectfully oppose it. I oppose the intent of this legislation to suspend the enforcement of the Saipan zoning law for a period of 5 years, and to transfer the office to DPW, to the Sinamay, Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands Department of Public Works, for the following reasons. Number one, without the zoning law enforcement, the aesthetic value of the properties in Saipan stands to be negatively affected and land value compromised. And number two, 5 year sunset provision stands to promote irreparable damage to the specified or the purpose of the zone sites and open to abuse of various permits without zoning enforcement. And 3, transfer to Sinamay Department of Public Works stands to increase workload and task of the Sinamay DPW, especially its divisions that are already handling the workload of the entire Sinamay and the capital, which is Saipan. In this third, the transfer to DPW, I had personally experienced for many years dealing with the technical division here at the Commonwealth of the Northern Islands Department of Public Works chairwoman. I was dealing with projects for Tinian many years ago with the federal projects for the and I've noticed that one of the reasons why the workload, I've noticed the technical division are lacking a lot of engineers, and it's important to note that. And I haven't seen them yet, but I'm pretty sure they need more engineers in there, civil engineers and other technical engineers to the technical division, and more staff to with the workload of Tinian, Rota, and Saipan. And not only that, we haven't seen any development in the north, but this would transfer the workload, and I'm pretty sure this zoning law and Saipan zoning law would add more. I understand that there might be some overlapping issues between the Commonwealth zoning law and the Saipan zoning law, and but I'm gonna specifically focus on the Saipan zoning law. And I recommend that, in opposition to this, I recommend to the authors, Senator Castro and co-author to the Senator Magofnia, chairwoman, that propose a new legislation and draft a proposed new legislation to transfer the entire administration of the zoning law to the Saipan Mayor's Office and the purview of the Saipan and Northern Islands Municipal Council. Just for information, I haven't talked to the Saipan Municipal Council and I haven't talked to the mayor, but I think it's the rightful way to transfer this entire specifically for the municipality of Saipan to handle this, because I truly understand the workload of DPW. Like I said earlier, I have many years experience with them, and also it would allow the Sinamay legislature, which is the Senate and the House, to focus more on the geopolitical and economic and social and in the regional issues of Asia, like South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, China, Australia, and of course the regional areas of Micronesia, and of course focus on the covenant. The upper and the lower house should focus on of our relationship with the United States, so we can access more direct funding and appropriation from the United States Congress and President Trump, so we can help us recover. As we all know, we're struggling economically, and that would really give time and your professional staff, support staff from the legislature and the members of the House and the Senate can focus more on this, now that we are, as all we are dealing with this economic slowdown. We can focus on having President Trump and the member of Congress with the efforts of the legislature and the executive branch to bring more money to the island and more focus on regional issues like South Korea, again, Japan, China, and the Philippines. But I strongly, China's a little bit, we'll talk about it later on, but China's a little bit different because of national security issue. But what I recommend more here is this new draft that would look at these two local laws that's affecting the municipality of Saipan. This zoning law is specific to the municipality of Saipan, which is the capital. And we have to understand, Senator, the chairwoman, and members of this Senate body, is that Saipan is the capital. We need a strong, vibrant capital. Without having the municipality of Saipan to be dignified, the whole entire Saipan, the infrastructure, the steady value, and all and so forth. That would really make capital of Saipan very vibrant, and it's good for the municipality and the rest of the Sinamay. And this act purports to empower the municipal government to handle specifically local matters affecting the municipality of Saipan. This also empowers the Saipan Mayor and the Saipan and Northern Islands Municipal Council to make critical decisions affecting the residents and villages, and including tourist zones and specific to Saipan and other areas. So it's up to the legislature and the executive branch to transfer this power back and empower the Saipan municipality of Saipan. And I think it's critical time that we allow that, so it would lessen the workload of the DPW, the technical division, and other areas. And anyway, other than that, I will move to the next one.
Just
Lastly,
dispensa, Mr. Hofschneider, binatungo na esta is move 5 minutes on USA. I can give you another minute or so to wrap up your comment.
okay.
Thank you.
I oppose Senate Bill 24-39. I believe that the intent of this 150 demarcation is too close with the climate change coming up. And I believe that the 300 feet is really a model for the rest of the municipality of the rest of the Mariana Islands, you know. And I believe the Tina municipality and Saipan should focus on that 300 feet. That will give them more to address climate change and more access for the people, the public and indigenous people to access the 300 feet. As you can see around Saipan, you see a lot of these that are already closed. And also, I oppose specifically Senate Legislative Initiative number 24-3. I truly believe that this undermines the intent of the covenant under Section 805A to prevent exploitation and to promote economic self-sufficiency. 99 years leasehold is too long. This beyond one generation to make the decision of their disposition of their land. And the recommendation is this should introduce legislation to create a commission on land use to review all private land leases to ensure strict enforcement of the legislative intent of the 55 years leasehold, to prevent exploitation and the intent of the leasehold. We must protect the interests of the future generation if Amagwanta. I appreciate this opportunity to comment on this important legislation above, and I look forward to the committee's consideration of this recommendation. And Sizus Masi, and I know there's many more, but I don't have time to review it, so I reserve my comment.
Sizus Masi,
thank you.
Mr. Hofschneider. Thank you ni Malumo por na committee ni some comments. Duly noted. Thank
Okay,
you.
Sizus Masi, okay, then I'm the members of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. While we wait for the next speaker, I would like to recognize the attendance of Senators Donald Manglonia and Senator Cruz. Thank you, Senators, for joining us.
Sorry, Mr. Chairwoman. Sorry, I'm from Tinian, so I speak so fast.
It's okay.
Sorry, dispensa.
Spencer, Madam Chair, gaya tu benda nu mama mandi zu pa video zu. Sa mama. Half a day, then finu gohan manana sizus. Siliana sablan Hofschneider zu. Gaya gizu gini kumu gohu kume lului I Matua Council for Native Chamorro Advancement. Kulan admin magkanan admin no taigizu gini za no sagwaha hinanaw para Honolulu no para Meriko talo lo no govmaguvzu na kaigizu gini ni pataatan isti sa bulashan man importante za ufafasin I Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Na kusina gi in the future no tanagwaha mas no kampu para si public comment sa 5 minutos no tinahu sa mampus man importante siya na oktu in proposito za ni 8 no taza man mafoto gini ne. So no maulik no in babagi sanilo comment gitalo zan masyagi san papa. Zanan taza maybe suspended on miser rules of no as usual wana in suspended on miser rules ne para in no sogi otusha na business. I think similarly publico I deserve loki po masuspend rules so malay mas tempos ang kampo pero songan afa hinanonya magi gini na piso ne so importante. Good morning, Talo. No, I'm Liana Hofschneider. I'm here on behalf of Matua Council for Native Chamorro Advancement. I will speak in the English language because I have agreed that there is a platform called that was established for us called Let's Talk Marianas, and I translated into Tatuca Marianas. And I owe this to the beneficiaries of that platform that I will speak in English so they can understand, because they don't really speak English. I'm in Chamorro, and so I'm here today. I'm here today, as always, very important to me and important to a lot of our community. And I will start with the most significant one. House Senate Legislative Initiative number 24-3 to amend Article 12 of the Northern Mariana Islands Constitution to increase the term of private land from 55-year lease up to 99-year lease, and to require that private land leases include financial clauses that protect persons of Northern Mariana's descent from exploitation and ensure a fair share of potential upside gains. In a cursory view, if you look at this heading, it sounds protective, but it's not. It actually exploits the very beneficiaries of public land. Why I say that? Because 55 years lease was not really the first lease when public land leases began. It was less than that. And the magic number of 55-year lease has came up with prior legislators, and I spoke with some of the members that voted for this 55-year lease, and they shared a lot of very intimate, and the journal will say that. So now Senator Manny Tenorio Castro is proposing to increase this to 99 years. This is 2 generations, and we have to be mindful what our situation is right now. What I am proposing, and I've proposed this in the past, and I think Senator Poe can attest to this, that we have proposed to impanel a commission to actually study all public land leases and private land leases here in the Sinamay, to look at the lease standards that were given to our landowners. And I'm glad this is specific to private land, because especially private land, there are clauses in those leases that actually automatically transfers the rights for the landowners when the law changes in the future. Meaning, should the law change to allow non-natives to own land, that it automatically transfers to them. And these are existing and alive leases today. So what I'm asking this body is to actually take this legislative initiative and create another public hearing specific to this, because this is a very dangerous public comment, because even the United States government at that time, the transitional government, during the Trust Territory, there was a memorandum that came from the High Commissioner and coming from the United States federal government, informing the Marianas political status that should, Marianas legislature, that when they are deliberating on providing leasehold, that it should not be more than 1 generation. So what is 1 generation? It didn't say years, it says 1 generation. And that document is a federal document. It's alive in the archive. So what are we doing, 99 years? Why not 100 years? But the point is, who are these 99 years that we're trying to accommodate? My intuition says that there are a lot of people that have leased land, private land, who are actually contract workers. That, and this is not from me, and this actually my intuition, and was shared to me again last night, that there's this group of people that actually lease land, and their land lease are about to expire, and that they don't have a permanent status, so that this lease should be increased, or that they built a house from the economic things that we got, the economic money that came for housing, and that the lease are coming up. So these are the things that we need to look. We don't know. We're introducing a bill without substance. So this bill does not have substance to support the reason why we need to extend to 99 years on private land leases. More importantly, this is exploitation at face value. 99 years, make it 100 years. You're asking us today to make that decision for the 2 generations. This is what this bill is. I think what best we need to do is to impanel and review all private land leases and help the landlords that are in this lease agreement to see what are those conditions, because all of the leases are written in English, and a lot of them don't really speak English. And as we go down and review a lot of these leases that are now been sublet, some of them 3 times. that they don't even understand. And it's true, they don't share any economic. But we cannot use this kind of context in the pretense to disown, the landowners. So I wholeheartedly oppose this, but I humbly ask this committee to please put this legislation into a what do you call this? Into a separate committee hearing, and go to Tinian, go to Rhoda, because this is a lot of and the people are beneficiaries that are off island. That's one of my comment.
Dispensa, Ms. Schneider, I just wanted to bring to your attention that your 5 minutes is up, but I will allow you another 3 minutes.
Yeah, and
So,
and
thank you.
please, if there's no one, I would like to come back and share again.
Okay.
So and then again, we have to talk about also the 2/3 in Tinian, right? That's 100 years. But that's a federal relationship with America, and even this, right? Even this, when we talk about this, now they're trying to renegotiate. And I'm asking the leaders of Tinian to please take a step back and let's look at this, because in this economic time, this is the fastest way is to start talking about the land. But land is not what we need to talk about. The status of our people is what we need to talk about. So I'm just stuck there. You see how I use 5 minutes, and I actually have a lot of this. But, so let me just wrap. House Bill 24-4, this is to amend the investment and qualifying certificate. This is actually proposed by the Congresswoman Julie Ogo for Rhoda. We have to actually remove this legislation in the public law, because this is exploited. 25 years tax abatement to waive the developer. Rota should be learning from Saipan, because this is not working. All money investors, most of the investors are foreign investors, and the money just goes out. And their employees are mostly foreign workers, so the money goes out. And I think there's several bills here that are being introduced to actually talk about the remittance, and that's long overdue. Secondly, Senate Bill 24-39, which is also the 150-foot in Rhoda. I think I'm going to echo what Richard said. We should use Rhoda leaders, the forward vision of the Rhoda leaders in the past, for thinking that 300 feet should be the standard. And that should be the standard. So I support moving the standard further for the Saipan and Tinian, but remain the 300 feet, and so I oppose this. Another one is the Fair Billing Act, which is House Bill 2459. Here it's saying that it's going to allow the hospital to back bill people for whatever reason. That's not enough context. That again needs to have a standalone hearing, so we can go in. And actually also, if they're doing this, if the government is doing this to waive, for example, the HMP, the health network, when they created the health network, transferring the health network from the governor's office to the CHCC, what they did is they waived millions of dollars of old bills. So what the Commonwealth Health Center is asking here is to back bill people, but they should be looking at how much millions of dollars did they waive. And if they can do that, if this body, the government, can do that, then they should waive the retirees that what they owed, because the retirees, that's not their fault. It's public policy's fault and the administrator's fault. So, and then House Bill 2440, which is the Commonwealth Code to clarify the application of business registration. I support this. I truly support this House Bill 2440. Old Business 2412 is to enhance the fiscal transparency of the development and updating the comprehensive land use plan. And within that bill, it asks for $200,000 annually, which is going to be within the next 5 years. That would be $1 million. I oppose this. The state should actually fund the land use plan, because the land use plan was created in the onset of the Commonwealth government to create a land use plan. But when they created the land use plan, they never followed and they never adopted. So that's why now we have a zoning law, which is, I'm going to go down to Senate Bill 2423, which I don't support, is that it ran amok. The development has ran amok because the land use plan was never in place in the first place. So that's a farce concept to appropriate 200,000 in the account to add up to 1 million. I think the state, which is the Sinema government, should actually pay for that, and at the same time, work together with the zoning and all this whatever the land use plan that calls for it, that they should work together and everybody should be on the same page. Because when we say this is village, then someone in the House or in the Senate introduces a bill to exempt, to turn it from residential to commercial use, joint use. It's nonsense. I'm sorry if I'm talking like that, but it's driving me nuts. And then Senate Bill 2423 to suspend the administration of the Commonwealth zoning and zoning code and Saipan zoning law and its amendment for a period of 5 years. Just that. You're going to have a sunset clause for 5 years. So what are you going to do with everybody just building anything? How are you going to fix after the 5 years? How are we going to do this? Somebody built a paint shop in the middle of Garpan, the tourist district. What are we doing? We have to stop this. I think, with all due respect, policy makers and leaders, senators, please, we got to take time and go back to old bills that were introduced. And I'm very happy to see here some senior senators, Senator Cruz and Senator Paul, and maybe work with them and guide you, this body, to improve our environment. We're very simple. Dikiki Amaranas, Dikiki Saipan, Dikiki Tinian, Dikiki Luta. No, we should have more safe neighborhoods. Lopago and Mano Patsaranka, Tutungusta ko sarang, if it's a village or an auto repair shop or I don't know. There's a lot of things. So, and again, I hope, Madam Senator, that we have more opportunity to come back and talk about this, because these bills, like I said, I oppose that. It's not right, and I echo Richard's concern or recommendation to transfer the begin to build the Saipan municipality like Tinian and Rhoda. Begin the municipality of Saipan and Northern Island, and the mayor, whoever that may be, or the municipal council, whomever they may be, that they should start operating in a municipal level, just like when I was in Hawaii, we have city council, and then we have a state. So anyways, sus masis pwede mas oportunidad, para ta engage tagini sa tagini pagos malilis tigi publiko bulate makomprende, so tinahong tempo. And I think para ta rundown tagini bulan bill ni, just my opinion, mas moling me siya dos at a time or tres at a time. It's a recommendation that often nagwa mas moling na conversation ginamzo sa am gizo gini tigwa u representa tauto siya ni makontuto sizo afa babisangan.
Okay.
Sizo smasis binalom is a formal response.
Sizus Masi, Ms. Schneider, we appreciate you coming in and providing your comments regarding the bills that you support and are not in support of, and as well as the recommendations. Just for context, I know that there are a lot of bills on the agenda, but truth be told, it's very unlikely that the committee will address every single bill on the agenda. The purpose of this is to just document and record that all of these bills are in the committee, and that the committee is working diligently to ensure that the bills are being vetted thoroughly. We're doing our due diligence to solicit comments from relevant stakeholders. So rest assured that there will be more time for public comments. The committee does intend to hold public hearings, most especially on the legislative initiative and a lot of the bills that have a bigger impact to our people and the economy as a whole. So thank you for your time. And okay, public comment portion is still open. If there's anyone else, I do see the director of CEDA here in the gallery, Director Sasamoto, Sizus Masi, for making the time. I know that you have another meeting to go to, and so if there are no other public comments, yes, Mr. Hofschneider. Okay, if there are no objections from the members, can we give Mr. Hofschneider 1 minute to share his thoughts on whatever that was stated earlier? No objections? Okay, thank you. You have 1 minute, Mr. Hofschneider.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chairwoman, one more time, Jesus Masi, and members of this committee for allowing me to speak 1 minute. I just want to say that Senate Bill 24-39, this is the 150 feet, that was introduced by, I believe, by former Senator Dennis Mendiola, now he's the Lieutenant Governor. I know the intent of this bill. Briefly, I just recalled that one of the reasons why is for the land compensation and for land exchange, and I just want to make sure that I put this comment in. I oppose land exchange. I truly oppose that land exchange because we're very limited. We have the ocean is big, huge, Dankulu, but the land is small and it's not growing. The only thing growing up there is in the north, where we have volcanoes. But here in Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, I know there's a lot of tension about land ownership that needs to be reimbursed. Like I believe it's the last time I spoke, I remember it was $10 million or more, $10 million. So my suggestion to this honorable body, and I'm going to speak down to the lower house, and of course I'm going to write a letter to the governor. We should do every year, and I've spoken to many years about this to other members of the legislature that are not here and here, that we should do it mandatory every year, earmark or mandatory every year to have a portion of the budget, like 1% or 2% of the budget directly to the landowners, and every year they can, by the time 5-10 years, it's keep going down, instead of just letting it go, and trying to find out that chunk of 10 million or more to just one time. So that's my recommendation. Instead of the municipality of Rhoda, and of course Tinian and Saipan, and a lot of it here in Saipan, those land compensation should be budgeted yearly. So I pray that in the future that our economy would rebound, and then we can increase from 1% to 2% a year in the budgetary, or up to 5%. That is directly goes to this land compensation. So and at the same time suspend too. I don't know if you have the law here right now, but I believe that we should suspend, if it's not enact, the interest, because that's the interest that's really affecting us. And lastly, I just want to recommend we should do a comprehensive study on these appraisals, because as of yesterday, I've learned there's 2 appraisers here in the cinema, and we have to focus about this land value. And we should have a standard of, like $50 per square meter. For example, I'm just proposing this as an idea to have across the board. All land should have $50 per square meter. It don't matter where. And then you negotiate up and in correlation with the appraised value, because we cannot let, I've spoken in the court before here many years ago, and I've spoken to the former Judge Weissman. I told him, I said, I told him straight, Judge, we cannot have the banks and the financial institution control our Section 805 of the covenant. That's what I'm trying to tell him, because we own this land. And that's what the protection is. So $50 per square meter for across the board. We should have that as a legislative bill, so people are not exploited, under Section 805A. Thank you, and Suzus Masi from this honorable body, and Chairwoman Suzus Masi. Thank you.
Suzus Masi, Mr. Schneider. If there are no other public comments, Director, I know you've already submitted your written comments for the first bill that we will look at in the committee, but would you like to provide any oral testimonies or comments while you're here? I know you have to leave for another meeting, so.
Actually, Senator, I committed to being here for as long as I need to be. I've already sent out the communication to my next meeting that this is an important matter, and if my feedback is needed, then I'm willing to be here as long as you need me. As you said, I already submitted comments, I believe, at least twice on the proposed QC Incentive Act, the amendments to the QC Incentive Act. I'm not sure if you want me to go over them again, or I do have one, I guess, one input to share on the proposed amendment, perhaps maybe another potential amendment to the law, because we are seeing, based on the experiences that we're dealing with investors, and it seems it's common now, what we're dealing with now. And so within the QC, the QC law was passed, I think, in 2000, so it's about 25 years old, right? We probably did not anticipate the things that we'd be doing to this day, the big industries that we're now entertaining and attracting, right? And so one of the things that we're seeing among these big investors is that there are certain things within the QC that if we had a little bit of flexibility, it would really allow us to be able to negotiate a lot more, I guess, beneficial to the Commonwealth. So we are hoping, from my perspective, it would be a good thing to consider, like allowing. I believe it may be possible right now within the regulations, but just to make it, solidify it, we could consider adding in just a little one sentence liner to the QC Act to allow CETA to be able to provide conditional approvals. So that way, for example, there only one condition that's material once it's met that allows for the QC to be effective. But it would allow us to still do the work, evaluate the QC, entertain it, recommend it, give it off to the governor, but still have the investors who we're seeing now quite often still on the hook to fulfill that one, for example, condition, and then they're able to get the benefits. As we see it, there's no cost to the government. There's no risk other than maybe perhaps the condition is not met. But there's no risk, there's no cost to the government. We're not giving anything away. No benefits are given until that condition is met. And I feel that if that is explicitly in the law, then that would make the QC Act it's more beneficial for the QC Act. And then it would allow us flexibility. Even though I feel like we have the mechanism to do it now, I feel like it would be beneficial to put it in the statute so that it's set in stone moving forward. And I feel that based on the conversations and experiences we've been having since last year, for almost a year now, this need is not uncommon amongst the investors. And we literally have, for example, at least one investor right now who is so already turned in many things. They're moving forward. Very high quality investment, very high quality people. And these are the kind of issues that we're dealing with such investors. And if we had this right now, it would make a huge difference and would allow us to execute projects quicker. So that's what I wanted to add on to that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for comments and recommendation, Director. We are still in the public comment portion of the agenda. So if there are no other further, we can reserve the dialogue between the committee members and yourself for, once we get out of the public comment.
Yes, that's
sections.
what I was hoping. If you would need me, I would. Do
Okay,
that.
thank you.
But I would last thing I'd like to say is that I have provided comments at least on 2 occasions, and I know you have them, and I stand by my comments until this day.
Perfect.
So, yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. If there are no other public comments in the gallery, I don't think we have any other individuals to provide public comments. So at this time, the public comment portion of the agenda is closed. Before we move on to item 5, I would like to acknowledge again the presence of our Director Sasamoto. Welcome. Next on the agenda is new business. Under new business, we do have a total of 9 proposed bills to review and discuss. As I stated earlier, it is very unlikely that the committee will entertain every single bill on the agenda. It is already 10 o'clock, and we are pressed for time as we do have another commitment this afternoon with a presentation and Q&A session with Department of Transportation. So we will try and move as fast as we can on these bills, but I also would like to encourage that we take our time on some of these bills to really have a good conversation and dialogue. For example, the first bill, House Bill 24-1, HD1, which was introduced by Rep. Julie Ogle back in February, and it passed the House in June of 2025. This particular piece of legislation proposes to amend the Investment Incentive Act of 2000 by refining eligibility criteria for the qualifying certificate, also known as QC, and to strengthen procedural safeguards, mandating detailed reporting on investments and performance, and enhancing oversight mechanisms. Before we start our dialogue with Director Sasamoto, I just wanted to briefly, recap to the public who may be listening in as to this bill. So, again, this bill was introduced by Representative Julie Ogle, and basically, the author finds that the Investment Incentive Act of 2000 continues its purpose of providing incentives that stimulate new investment in the Commonwealth. However, she finds that the structure of the program has not kept pace with an evolving competitive market for business investments. And so accordingly, this proposed amendment is to encourage the development of additional business investments and increase diversification of the Commonwealth economy, as well as expand and refine the scope of development on projects eligible for QCs within the Commonwealth. The committee would like to let the public know that we did solicit some comments from the relevant stakeholders, to include CETA, Department of Commerce, Chamber of Commerce, and the Office of the Attorney General. We did receive comments from CETA, and we do have the director here to clarify some of the language or issues and concerns that the committee members may have regarding the bill. We also received comments from Chamber of Commerce. They are in support of the bill, as well as Department of Commerce. We did not receive any comments from the AG's office as of yet, so I just wanted to let the public know that these were the stakeholders that we solicited comments from, and who provided comments. So when the House passed this particular bill back in June of last year, I just want to focus on some of their findings. So based on the committee report that was submitted or transmitted to the Senate from the House did make some amendments, a total of 8 amendments, I believe. And here it is. And that includes the amendments that were made to the proposed bill were from sections, I believe, hang on. Where's my notes? Sorry. Sections 3 through 10. So every section on the proposed bill was pretty much amended by the House. And so, if I may, I would like to ask the committee members that we kind of go through these amendments that the House proposed, and also really take into consideration the comments that Director Sasamoto has provided, and to ensure that the integrity of the bill and the intent are both considered, and ultimately determine what the committee wants to do about the bill, but also keeping in mind that, with all the efforts and initiatives that, the legislature and the administration is trying to do its best to help revive the economy, as well as diversify the industries that are showing interest in the CNMI. I would like to ask the committee members that we take that into consideration, so that we can better assist CETA to fulfill or achieve the efforts that they are trying to do to help improve our economy. So with that said, if there are no objections from the members, we would like to invite Director Sasamoto into the chamber to start our dialogue. Any objections? Okay. So at this time, I would like to invite Director Sasamoto into the chamber. And before I open the floor to the members to ask their questions, I would like to just highlight some of the comments that was provided by the director, so that we can provide the public some context, and so that when we start having our Q&A, they can try to follow along. And so basically, this bill seeks to enhance and refine the scope of projects eligible for QC. However, and this is the comments that was provided by director, by the way. However, the QC law and regulations allows for any business beneficial to the CNMI. Thus, the current QC environment does not limit the projects or investments eligible under the program. In fact, it allows the flexibility for CETA to entertain all applications and proposals except those restricted by law, such as gambling activities on Saipan. The director further comments by stating that the current QC law does not restrict or disincentivize any industry other than gambling on Saipan. The bill also seeks to require QC minimum investment reports. Mandating this is unnecessary, according to the director, and CETA is responsible for reporting its activities at any given moment. This is the nature of the government employment. To mandate this seems to imply that the government agency accountability and reporting is an option. A request to CETA will suffice. Moreover, the statute already identifies the minimum capital investment required for all potential projects. Finally, this report also adds that CETA shall make recommendations as to what industries should be added to the law. And again, CETA takes the position that the current law allows for any and all industries that we determine to be beneficial. This is important as times change, needs change, dynamics change, economy changes, global matters change. The QC must remain flexible to be relevant in the future. We cannot anticipate what may be needed in 20 years, thus the need to maintain flexibility, as the director stated earlier in his comments. He also expresses that the current QC law, being unrestrictive, has allowed CETA to market and promote the Marianas to the fullest extent. We intentionally market the flexibility of the QC as this aspect of it's very pro-business and allows the Marianas to stay adaptable depending on the current circumstances of the Marianas. The QC attracts diverse and impactful investment, as we are seeing now, with the potential to have different manufacturing industries in the Marianas set up operations in the near future. The QC is one of the Marianas' biggest selling points at USA trade shows and when meeting with investors. The bill proposes a QC investment performance evaluation report. It will detail tax incentives, economic benefits, and anticipated economic impacts. This is essentially a summary of the QC itself. All this information is on the actual qualifying certificate issued to successful applicants. Thus, this aspect of the bill seems to be duplicative and unnecessary. The director did provide a pretty detailed explanation as to his position on the bill and why that is. And I appreciate him taking the time to come in and discuss his thoughts and concerns and recommendations to better improve the bill that's before us. And so at this time, I open the floor to any members to start the dialogue with our Director Sasamuro. Thank you. Any members? Recognize Senator Paul.
Yes, we have copies of August 15 letter from the Executive Director. And can you just explain your comments to the bill with regards to this section on third parties performing, third party due diligence review? Your concern with that?
I feel that having a third party enter into the government's business takes away from the independence and the authority of CETA. I mean, why would we do that? It also creates a burden on the government because now we have to pay for this consultant or this third party. I mean, CETA has the ability and the authority to do so. We do background check, due diligence checks anyways, and at the same time, we also have a 7-member board who holds us accountable. So we do our own due diligence. For us to go out and pay for a third party to do it, I just don't see why we would do that unless we didn't have the capability. I mean, perhaps leaving it as an option but not mandating it as a requirement would be acceptable, but I don't see the need for CETA to have to hire someone to do that for us. I feel that we have the independence and the authority and the capability to do that currently. And the less consultants in government, I think the better.
What about those companies, for example, that we give QC 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What kind of requirement do we have to see whether they're in compliance or it continues to benefit the CNMI? Not that we have an option to terminate or what, but what is there now to make sure that they're not abusing the language of the QC agreement, such that they're throwing in their revenues that are not supposed to be part of the QC? Is there such a review, independent review for such?
Yes,
Thank you.
so the QC beneficiaries are required to report on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, a semi-annual basis, and an annual basis. So everything that a applicant who eventually becomes a beneficiary, everything they say in their application that they're going to do is what we then tailor benefits towards, right? We have to make it mutually beneficial. So if there's anything in the QC that they're not doing that they said they were going to do, such as creating a certain amount of jobs or hiring a certain amount of residents or expanding the business to a certain point, then we have the authority to revoke or revoke the benefits or suspend benefits or reduce benefits. So if they're not doing what they say they're going to do based on the QC, then we definitely, and that's an ongoing monitoring basis. And now that we actually have the staffer again within the office, we have the monitoring ongoing now.
How many companies are receiving QCs today?
I would say about 4 or 5 only 4 or 5.
And each are current on their
Yes.
reports?
Yes, and we've actually entertained some of them who, for example, were requesting for like amendments and things like that, but we informed them that according to the law and such, we're not unable to entertain those amendments.
Are such reports available to the government or to the legislature, reported to the legislature copies?
I can get clarity on that. Everything within the QC must be maintained confidential because it's proprietary information for the investor. However, of course, OGA, right? That does it all. But if a request from the legislature, I'll just have to get guidance on what we can provide. But I would assume we would be able to, except for maybe proprietary information.
I'm concerned on those pertaining to casino gaming, because one of the amendments here is to kind of further restrict that to Rhoda and Tinian, and I know the reason for that public law in the 19th legislature was because both islands or municipality have undergone an initiative, right, an election, and they both approve it. That was the reason for including hotel with casino to provide incentive in the islands that have the people have voted on that industry. But this proposal attempts to take that out. But I'm just concerned. Today there is one, I understand, QC in the gaming industry. And by that, I don't mean the term casino, but I guess Vegas, Saipan Vegas, or those. Do they have a QC?
I don't believe so. Unless they're tied to one of the QC beneficiaries currently, but I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so the revenue there in no way is channeled to a QC company, right?
Well, the Department of Finance Revenue Tax is also involved in that analysis, that review as well. So I would assume that they would catch that, But I don't think Saipan Vegas is a QC beneficiary. I don't recall that application at all, unless their parent company is one of the applicants. But I'm not aware of that.
Okay,
sorry,
can
Senator.
you I don't know, Madam Chair, whether the committee has copies of all the QCs, the 4 or 5 companies that have QCs, and maybe just a summary on what kind of businesses they are now that are availing of that. So I'm surprised there are only 4 over 25 years have availed of that. So there must be something that.
Well, there were more beneficiaries, but either their benefits expired or they pulled out. Like, for example, like Lalao Bay Golf Course, right, was one of the beneficiaries before, but I guess they pushed through that expired, things like that. So we did have other beneficiaries, but currently active. About four. Trying to think off the top of my head.
You for now.
And if I just add, so the section on restricting gaming activities on Rhoda and Tinian, if you notice from my comments, we did not oppose it or per se, but we just said like we feel that it should be an analysis should be done just to ensure like if any jobs were created and if those are currently employed and what that would have on employment. Just something simple.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. If it's okay, Director, can the committee request for a listing of all the QCs that are currently, who the current beneficiaries are, and a summary of the type of industry that they're in, maybe even when they were granted the QC and the expiration and the amount for sure. Great, thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Director. Regarding the 5 QC order, are those new investors or a long-time investors here in the...
Yes, Senator Cruz. So out of the 4, and I sincerely apologize that I cannot confirm if it's 4 or 5, and I really feel almost embarrassed having to say 4 or 5 all the time. But out of those 4 or 5, the only one is a recent one, which is the Max, and the previous ones were older ones.
Okay, okay. I know you. I read your comment on this legislation that stating that at the SIDA office the SIDA was only giving 25 years. Do you have any cases that been extended another 25 years?
As far as I know, no, and that would be against the law. And for like a current beneficiary, as far as I understand it, I don't believe, for example, like if they go through like their benefit period, they cannot just start again.
Because I read this in the past that some company, I don't want to pinpoint the name, but you should know, that's being given 25 years, and then after that 25 years, there's an extension of another 25 years. So I was very concerned about that, because I understand that QC is to attract new investors to come in. Not to continue giving QC to a company that is already at that point that they're recovering all the those losses and stuff, and they're already on the recovery point, right?
Yes.
You don't give QC because it's already generating
They're
money.
potentially profiting already. Yeah.
So I just want to raise this because I raised it in the past because I learned that there's a company that's been given QC. Do you give QC to a company that have multiple businesses on Saipan?
If an applicant applies for a QC with all of their companies under that application, then we consider all of those in that QC application.
But you don't give each. For example, I have a business. I have different business.
Well,
do you give QC on a separate for each, or you put it in one package?
Well, they normally apply for one type of line of business, and then all the companies associated should be affiliated with that. So, for example, if they apply for a QC and they have like one company in that application that is not even directly related to the main line of business, then we would not provide benefits to that entity, and they would probably just take it out. So it has to be directly tied to the actual activities identified on the QC. All companies have to be have to follow that activity.
So for example, I have a restaurant business, and then I have a boutique separate. Do you give QC 25 years for each, or you put it in one?
Well, if you applied for both lines of business, for example, let's say because you're supposed to identify what activity you're applying for. And if, let's say, it's allowable to apply for both at once, restaurant and boutique, then we would weigh the benefits based on those 2 lines of business, and not necessarily as a whole, because we have to see how those 2 separate industries would benefit the Commonwealth.
What I'm trying to get into is what I mentioned earlier, that you give QC to a company, and it's already on the recovering side, and then having another multiple business.
Yeah, the only situation where I see that would be allowable by law is if there's a QC beneficiary currently. The QC is authorized and eligible for new businesses, new lines, a new business, or an expansion of a current business. So, for example, the only situation where I see a QC beneficiary getting another QC would be if they applied for another QC for an expanded line of business to their current business.
Yes.
Because that's allowable by law. That's allowable by law, yes. But it has to be a new line of business. Or
even though you're the same investor.
Yes. Because you could be like you said, you could have a restaurant, but then you have a great idea for a boutique and that's successful, and if it's a good project, then you can come in with your current QC and say, I have a new business, I want to apply for a QC for an expanded line of business, which would be that boutique, and that's allowable because that's a new business again.
So
you know?
do you think that one is okay at this time?
I believe so. Because let's say, for example, you have a QC and you're benefiting, your business is doing well, and it's allowing you to create a new business. It's great for the Commonwealth. It's great for the Marianas. It creates jobs. It creates new industry. It creates trickle-down effects, right? So if the new if a current QC beneficiary has benefited from a QC, they have a current line of business they can expand into, of course they're going to apply. They're going to tell us how many jobs they anticipate creating, how much they're going to contribute to the economy, and then we would consider that. And if it really is a new line of business, then we could award a new QC. But of course, taking into consideration the fact that the previous line of business has another QC, right? We have to weigh all that together. It can never be a windfall for the investor.
Okay, so all these years I thought it's for new to this is an attractive kind of incentive
Yes.
to to invite new investors from
Yes.
outside the Commonwealth, not within.
Like for example, let's say
It's already established and a successful business to be given a multiple QC for every single business that they build. If it's not the same kind of line of business,
if new line of business or expansion of business.
that will authorize. You said based on the law, and I asked whether that is working.
I believe it's a good incentive. Because,
And-
for
and
example,
the
let's say you have a
government- the government
manufacturer.
is not, no getting anything out of that.
Well, because I guess no
except
one has
for-
expanded a business.
Except for BGRT and stuff like.
None of the QC beneficiaries currently have an expanded line of business. But let's just consider, for example, what the potential now. We're entertaining manufacturers. These manufacturers, they want to set up production here. These manufacturers are also going to need packaging, assembly, and some of them might even need, for example, just throwing out there, like bottling, labeling. You never know, right? Bottling and labeling. And let's say no one here locally is able to open up a bottling or labeling business. So the manufacturer who's investing here now, creating jobs, says, I need this labeling operation, because now I want to produce the labels in-house because no one can produce it.
Yeah.
That's a new line of business. To incentivize that, they can apply for a QC.
That I will understand because that's a new.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about is, for example, I build a restaurant, and I want to build a boutique or a grocery store.
Hmm?
Do you allow that kind
Yeah,
of?
that's a new line of business. If you're a beneficiary for a restaurant and you have a boutique, that's a new line of business. So you would be eligible to apply for a QC on that new line of business.
All right.
Yeah. The law only allows for a new business or an expansion/new line of business. That's it. 2 categories.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz, and thank you, Director. I now recognize Senator Donald and then Senator Manny.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director. My question is just based off of the minimum capital investment bracket, I guess, if you will call it that. Do you think that these figures should be revisited? I mean, what, $1 million in 2000 is different from $1 million today? I mean, do you have any suggestions as to how we should look at these figures and determine whether we should increase or
Yeah,
reduce these investment?
we would have to do a study and make an educated determination, right? But just based on what we've been experiencing, investors seem to be elated when they find out. They seem to feel that the Marianas is business friendly on top of everything we explained. But when we explain, for example, like our regulatory costs, the cost of incorporating, the cost of business license, they are surprised and they're very elated. So when they find out that our barriers of cost are low like that, it's actually an attractor. So these currently set minimum capital investments, as we can see even from the previous recent QC, though it's set at a certain amount, they invested way more, 8 to 8-fold more, because this is the current market conditions, right? So in some ways, it's an attractor because it's not a huge dollar amount, and then we don't turn away like the SMEs, the small medium businesses, for example. We still attract small light manufacturing. So it's something that we would have to really put more time into and consider, definitely. But right now it appears to be, because it's one of the things that we're asked. when we market and promote. And when we show them the numbers, they're very elated. And it's kind of in line with how we appear business friendly to them as well. So currently it seems to be helping.
All right. And so what about the expansion portion? Because does this apply to, let's say, a business that has been operating for 10 years, not under the QC, but they would like to spend 250 on expansion? Do they get to apply and qualify for a QC on their whole business moving forward if they're gonna spend 250 or more on the expansion?
So
Is that how it works?
if you are an existing business, whether or not you have a QC or not, right, you are already in operation. So therefore you're not eligible to get a QC because you're already in operation. However, if you were going to have a new line of business in addition to this current business, now you are eligible under the QC law to apply. So any new line of business would work. And it even includes, if I'm not mistaken, renovations. So for example, if one of the big hotels here wanted to renovate, it would be considered an expansion of business under the QC law, and they could apply for a QC. And then we could, evaluate what benefits we're going to get from it, what jobs they're going to create versus the benefits we may award. But currently, yes, it does allow for any new line of business.
Have any of the companies that have, I guess, tried to, or that were given land leases, i.e. these hotels that go through DPL, do they try to qualify for these or apply for these QCs? Because part of the land lease requirement or even proposal is that they'll invest X amount into these renovation and expansion of the hotel that they're leasing. Do they apply, or are these companies, would they even qualify?
The big companies, they would if they had a new line of business. Yes, they would. They just have to meet the two criteria. One is a new business or an expansion new line. That's it. That's just the two criteria for the QC.
But most of them are talking about expansion, right? Adding more rooms.
Yeah. Yes.
Those kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
But have they come forward?
No.
Like most recently, right? COP being one of the most recent land lease that we've approved.
Yeah. So we've actually talked to, without disclosing any confidential information. So we had some discussions with such industry, and they were seeking certain assistance, which unfortunately within the QC did not qualify. However, we knew that they may be planning some renovations and expansion. So then we offered the fact that would qualify under the QC. So we did provide that assistance to them in terms of having them aware of that program. And because they're a long-time investor here and they're struggling, it would not be a bad thing to consider. But of course, it depends on the strength of their application.
Okay. Do these new developments that are part of like the NMHC program to provide for low-income housing, do they qualify for the QC benefit?
I'm not sure what the federal program rules dictate, so I cannot speak for that side, but thinking on the QC side, there's no restriction on how it's funded, whether it be federal or not. So I would assume that they would be eligible as well, as long as they can meet one of the two criteria.
Are you aware of any of these homes that have availed of the QC?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Senator Donald. Now recognize Senator Manny.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Director Sasamoto for coming in and giving his testimony today. I know it's probably only 10% of the good news that he can reveal. But at the same time, given our situation with our economy, the examples he gave are in line with like related diversification, and it just makes sense. And in speaking to some of the investors, sometimes we focus too much on the small, like permitting fees and whatever, but in the end, when the business is successful and getting products out, those are the numbers that we need to look at. How many jobs are created, the improvement into our education for our workforce, the bigger picture. I think some of our legislation we're missing the bigger picture of the economy, and right now while it's hot, we really need to continue to focus on streamlining some of these processes. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, so just some clarifying questions, if I may, Director. Is rev and tax in the QC review process?
Yes, Senator. So we work by law. Fortunately, we work in tandem with Department of Finance, Rev and Tax. So anything with tax analysis and those types of determinations automatically goes to them.
Great.
So we currently have a new QC application submitted, and it's from a very, very good investor who's wanting to move very quickly. And so once we certify this application complete, we will provide a copy to Rev and Tax, and we will hopefully ask them for a 1 to 2 week turnaround while we take our 30 days to do public hearing, things like that. Just get it moving as fast as we can. And hopefully we can have someone start breaking ground this year pretty soon.
That's definitely great news. We do look forward to that process taking place, and the sooner the better, right? Also, at the top of your head, would you know how much tax credit on QC thus far has the CNMI realized yet, or?
I don't have those figures. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We always rely on Rev and Tax for those figures.
Not a problem.
Yes.
Not a problem.
Yes.
And so, I just wanted to check or ask if you have seen the amended version of the House of this bill, because they did amend quite a lot. They took out about they amended 8 sections, and a lot of the amendments basically struck out an entire section of the proposed bill in its original form. So I wanted to check with you if you've had a chance to review that. And if not, I'll be more than happy to share that with you so that you can take a look at it. I know that based on your comments, they've kind of addressed that in their amendments. And so maybe the committee will hold off on acting on this particular piece of bill so that you can have the opportunity again to review what the House has done on their end. So I just wanted to share that. But I see Senator Paul and Senator Cruz raising their hands. So let me recognize Senator Paul first, and then Senator Cruz. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So just quickly, so for QC, what are the basic taxes that are applied against?
So by law, the QC can abate or rebate for up to 25 years, up to 100%, individual income tax, corporate income tax, BGRT, excise tax, alcohol beverage taxes, developer infrastructure taxes only on Tinian and Rhoda. And yeah, that's it.
So practically everything, but you mentioned in your response about public land, right? That's about the only thing that you cannot abate against.
Yes. So as you can see in one of my comments, I added on that perhaps consideration of CETA having some ability to negotiate public land lease rates, because we're seeing that that is an issue as well. But of course, I know that's a bigger issue, but we just put it in there.
But are you familiar with the new regs on DPL land leases that I think they have put already some flexibility before when you submit responses to RFP? It was like 5%, right? Has that been changed? I'm not very sure.
Fortunately, we've been collaborating with offices like Public Lands quite a bit, and I was aware that they may be amending their regulations, but I cannot speak to the details of that and whether or not it's happening or not. I don't know where it's at in the process. But
So should we leave that up to them and let them decide on a case-by-case basis based on the demand for a particular piece of land, based on appraisal reports, which, I don't think the legislature should put that in the law, because we don't know the details as to just any land in the CNMI, right? And I think you should look and maybe tell us if that's not sufficient, right? Because if they already included in their regulations, then whoever the applicant is can work with them, right?
Yep. You know, so we do see that if public lands had, I'm not sure what the current capabilities are, but if public lands had flexibility to work within the rent that they assess, depending on the size of the investor and such, because I don't think our public land lease documents and regulations consider the type of investors we're entertaining today, right? These are huge investors, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. So
So right now they just base it on appraisal value,
well,
right?
there's my understanding. There's an appraised value, 5% of appraised value, reassessed every 5 years. But there's also another term of additional rent, which is based on BGR. So investors, the way they interpret this is, oh, so the better I do, the more money you take from me. And then what we're hearing is, this is unheard of. This doesn't happen anywhere in the U.S. This doesn't happen anywhere in the territories. We've only seen this here in the Marianas.
So maybe that part, CEDA can play a role as far as QC, because the first part is based on appraisal report, which we think is under the jurisdiction,
Like-
but that additional
Yeah.
extra,
Yeah.
maybe that's what we
Of
can.
course, again, I have to say, I cannot speak for public lands, and they're not here, so I'm very cautious what I say. But from our perspective and what we're seeing with investors, yes, that type of flexibility, in our opinion, would really greatly help.
Okay. So anyway, I hear the chair trying to recommend that we have a hearing on this particular bill.
Yes, after we have our discussion, I would like to
Okay.
recommend that we
So
table this bill for
Chair, I'll
further
just ask
discussion.
maybe
Sure.
one more.
Yeah.
I just want to understand, because of all the listing that the bill has as far as the type of businesses that qualify for QC, I see that all of a sudden there's a big drop as far as internet-related businesses, $200,000. Everything else is $500,000 and above. This one is 100. So, are you familiar with the intent of this particular subsection 13? Why it's 100,000?
I'm not familiar with the intent, but I'm familiar with the numbers.
Okay, so what do you think? What kind of taxes would be abated against this investment?
Like an internet investment company, like an internet
Yeah.
company for $250,000.
Yeah, what kind of taxes?
Well, it would depend on the benefits that the investment and the benefits that we're going to get. So, how much jobs are you going to create, right? What type of employment, how much employment, and then we can even quantify the taxes on that employment, for example. And of course, the more employment we make, the better. There's trickle-down effects and things like that, right, for the economy. So really, it's about just quantifying what relief we're providing and making sure we're getting resultant benefits back. And it could also be outside of the employment. But of course, what problem do we want to have, right? Do we want to have high unemployment, or do we want to have
Well, I'm
lack of
asking,
workforce? Right?
Director,
We
I'm
want lack of
asking
workforce.
because I'm just thinking of digital nomad,
Yeah, yeah.
because I fully support that too. Right? But my question here is, we should support them, promote that those kind of people to come here, right? But would I be an internet business if I'm one of those nomad and I set up 2 or 3 computers and invest in a structure, and the total investment is 100,000, and then would that relieve me of my income taxes and all of that, such that what does the government make though? Because while I support it fully, I just want to make sure there's no loophole here that in the end we're not making anything.
Well, in that example, they didn't meet the minimum threshold, so they wouldn't even qualify for a QC. But if they did meet the threshold, then it would just be based on.
Well, I buy a house. That's 100,000. Would that be? Would I then meet the minimum investment?
That would definitely. The good thing about our QC law is that it allows for. It's not just capital purchases as part of the investment. They actually include operational costs such as employment.
And that's
inventory,
and so
the whole purchase of the house. Yes.
so one nomad can actually meet the 100,000 threshold tomorrow, and then what taxes do we get from that?
Well, if they create employment, if they're not going to create any employment, then the benefits
They
they're gonna
create
get,
one employment.
then if they get any benefit, it would be corresponding to the benefits we get from that one employee, which would not be substantial, if any.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out,
So we take
out of bound here. But I just want somebody to explain that
we just run
to
the
me.
numbers. We
Yeah.
take the proposed investment, what the benefits we're going to get, considering even employment, payroll, potential payroll taxes, which finance can estimate, right, based on the projected employment. Also, you take into consideration public benefit, right, the public benefits they provide. So we take those numbers, what benefits we're getting, and then we take the numbers that we're considering giving them in terms of benefit, and we compare those numbers. And we make sure that there's mutual benefit, because it cannot be a windfall. There has to be mutual benefit.
So can I ask you to look at this particular section and tell us what this tries to do, this 100,000 investment?
Well, if you think about an internet-based business, it's pretty much it's very low capital intensive, right? Like you said, a single person establishing a home-based internet business, even 100 grand is quite substantial for them. So hopefully, the cost of their home or that building, which actually does qualify, would have them eligible for a QC. But like you said, it's $250,000. So someone in that situation would have a hard time meeting it unless they're going to purchase huge inventory or equipment. But then that would already be a little bit more bigger, sophisticated business. So then we would expect more employment, right? More public benefit, for example. So you have to be a certain kind of business to qualify for the QC, right? Because of those minimum capital investments. Because you cannot just invest $10,000 and, you're not really going to get much benefit from that.
Well, I just don't want any loophole, right? That somebody comes here and they pretend to be digital nomad, but they're not, and just to
Yes.
avail of all the taxes, right?
Yeah, so I'm glad you clarified that. So yes, we do look into this, and actually we've been looking into this with current beneficiaries as well, seeing where they're sourcing their income, seeing where they're making their sales, making sure that it's all that what we're providing benefits for are all seen in my source income, because we're looking to the activities, and we're kind of looking to some things right now, right, just to make sure for compliance purposes. So we're making sure all income is sourced here that they're getting benefits for, and we're literally looking to that actively.
Okay, and finally, this free trade zone, right? The Commonwealth
EID,
Economic
yes.
Incentive. What's the difference between being in that zone and
Yeah.
being applying for
Yeah,
QC?
so the way I see it, right, is the EID under the EIA, the EIA has the authority to promote the EID. And there's benefits that they can get within the EID if investors want to operate within the area, which makes sense right around the airports, right? It's governed by, there's other, I shouldn't say more, but all the properties around the airport, right, were determined to be EID, and it's, so they get up to 20 years. So QCs provide up to 25-year benefit. EID provides up to 20. EID law also states that members of the EID would get expedited processing, I believe, of permits and regulatory documents. So that's the only difference I see with like our QC. It's not explicit, but CETA provides that service either way as well. So I see it as it's them marketing just that area. We market the overall, right? But we also we also market the EID when we go out. We try to do our best to market the Marianas as a whole, including a great place to visit, things like that. So it's the EID would just be limited to their area.
So, Chair, I lie. My final request to CETA is what can we do to existing businesses? Because those listening today out there are saying, you guys, don't you see all businesses are closing down? You're talking about new businesses. What about us? So what programs do you have for these businesses that are here now that we can give some tax break or something that maybe you can recommend that we can address at the same time? That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm very glad you asked that question, because I make it a point to make sure I communicate to the community as well as the leaders that not only are we focusing on attracting foreign investment, direct investment from the U.S., but we also have to focus on the current businesses here. And I've said this in some public forums where, which agency would do this? I don't want to name names, but I feel we need to, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. What was the, the existing business, I'm sorry. So with the existing businesses, right, one of the biggest data points we got to look at is job creation, but job retention. Have we ever looked at this data? how job retention is huge for our current businesses, right? Have our existing businesses been able to retain jobs and create jobs, but have they been able to retain? We need to look at that data historically and analyze that and see how we can better serve that community. CETA has, of course, its financing programs. We don't have any, the QC, unfortunately, like I said, it's only for new lines of business or expansions, right? Unfortunately, if you're a current business and you didn't apply for a QC, you're not eligible. But if you have an expansion, a renovation, or a new line, you become eligible. So current businesses right now can avail of our financing programs. And I say this a lot, but I feel like we are easier to work with than the banks. And we are the government's development banking arm, but we're also community-based. And we take that approach. And we're required to serve, right? So we can provide financing. We actually provide quite competitive interest rates as well if you qualify. And of course, we work with clients. We don't just penalize you right away. We try to work with you as opposed to other institutions who may instantly collect on day 31 of day 30, right? So we can help the local businesses with our with our financing programs. We have our microloan program up to 25K, which we actually have a draft amendment to raise it up to 50 or 100K to serve the community more expediently. And then we also have our loan program, direct loan program, up to $450,000. So I encourage anyone out there who needs help, who needs capital, because the biggest barrier to business and growing business is capital. And we provide that capital. And we, like I said, we're community-based, and we will work with you. And we have a great team at CETA, great loan team as well. And so we're here. And I admit that yes, we are doing a lot. We are going out promoting, building up so much momentum. But like I've said before, I need to do a better job of putting the word out there. We don't put a lot of word out there. We don't do a lot of social media posts and things like that because we don't try to get ahead of ourselves. We don't want to overpromise, right? But I feel like we need to do a better job of just letting people know exactly what we're doing, just so that they're aware, right? But yes, our loan programs are a very good way to help the local community because it's always about financing. And if you can use financing strategically to manage your cash within your cash flow, it's very advantageous for you. It's always smarter to use someone else's money. It's always smarter to use someone else's money. Don't use your own money.
Does Senator satisfy? Okay. I do have some follow-up questions, but let me turn the floor over to Senator Cruz and then Senator Manny. I'm sorry,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Donald. Yes.
I know that you have mentioned the benefit because I was gonna ask in regards to benefits, but I'm not gonna talk about the primary business. I'm gonna talk about the multiple because 25 years is long. This is life. I'm not against investor. I want investor to continue to do business here, but I just wanna completely understand that it has to be a win-win situation between the government and the government for the people and the business community. What other benefits besides employment on multiple? Because 25 years is long, and you're giving another set of 25 for different multiple. Because based on I went to the question that I asked in regards to line of business, and yes, it can be given no multiple, but that's another set of 25 years. For example, I have the primary at a 25, and I have maybe 15 years remaining, and then if I have another one, it will start with another 25 years, right?
If they qualify, yeah.
So what are the benefits for the public besides employment and those other taxes that cannot be waived?
Well, the employment is huge, right? But the creation of a new industry is a major thing too, as well, because there's always supply chain follow-on businesses.
Yeah.
There's always trickle-down effects. You provide more jobs, more consumers. People start consuming more. It's a trickle-down effect throughout the whole economy, because it's all about consumption.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
Because I was thinking when we give the blessing to investor that requires the legislature to approve land lease, for example, even those company they provide employment, but they have other benefits, like for example public benefits.
Yes.
So I was thinking in this multiple is this maybe not right now. It's very difficult because the economy is very bad. But maybe look into this in the future. Maybe perhaps for scholarship funds and even medical referral funds.
Yes, actually, the most recent QC, that's exactly what we did. We built in training, scholarships, medical referral.
Yeah.
The current QC beneficiaries, they understand that there's a big expectation for public benefit. And one of our potentials, their proposals for public benefit are quite substantial.
So
And of course, we, CETA, like everyone else in government, we are held to public accountability. So anything that we do at CETA, we take this seriously. You know, we have to follow the law, follow everything, follow the procedure, and be accountable, right? So if we're giving things away for the Marianas, we have to make sure we're getting corresponding benefit as well. It's never going to be just a win for like the investor. It has to be mutual benefit. And we understand this. That's why it's a negotiation. They come in here asking for the world, literally. And we have to bring them back down to where we are at. And that's not easy. And we always risk, okay, see you later, you know, because they want a lot, right? And, you know, they know our economic situation here. It's no secret, you know, we're struggling. So we're making sure that, you know, we're not being taken advantage of as well. So we take that seriously as well. We cannot have the integrity of the QC program. We cannot risk the integrity of the QC program at all, because this is a very good program. And if done properly and correctly, it's can only benefit. It will benefit.
yeah, maybe when the time is right, no, maybe you can consider those that I mentioned. But I know that the economy is very bad. We don't want to drive businesses out of the Commonwealth because we're gonna be in more worse situation. So it's just my thought that maybe perhaps when the time is right, when the economy is, you know, is rising, then
Yes.
maybe perhaps you can look into that.
Yes, we're
And
currently
for
trying to
future,
build it up.
future investors that willing to come and do business and they wanna do multiple. So maybe perhaps on a multiple side,
Yep.
maybe public benefits. So
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
Director. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. I now recognize Senator Donald.
Thank you, Chair. Just sorry, maybe one or two more clarifying questions. If you look at, do you have the bill in front of you? Is that it, or if not,
Senate Bill 2452 and
24-4 House Bill?
24-52.
Oh, so one of the inclusion on page 5 of the bill, it lists.
Sorry, Senator, are we still on 24-4?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I can provide a copy to you.
But it just adds on to the list of what are the eligible businesses.
Yes,
And
yes,
on number
yes.
16, it says, any development or project beneficial to the economic development of the Commonwealth, including those in the agriculture or aquaculture industry, subject to the approval of the board. Wouldn't this open it up to pretty much any business that you could simply justify as an economic development?
Yes, so
So there's really no point in having the list, all these items on the list.
thank you, Senator. So from my perspective, I agree with you, because the way the law is currently written, it allows for any industry that we determine to be beneficial. So everything is included, from dialysis, aquaculture, everything, as long as we determine it to be beneficial. So that's why I'm saying it's like it's almost like just duplicating what's currently allowed.
But it doesn't have something like a construction business, right? Wouldn't you classify that as an economic development?
Oh yes, of course. That's
But
why
then
we have
it's
that.
not currently listed.
Yeah,
So
but
it
it'll-
adds it to the list.
But the law currently allows for any. So just it allows for any. So that's the qualification, provides that flexibility. Any industry or business that is that's determined to be beneficial. So that's what gives us the flexibility there. But I mean, we could add on specifically under industries, as long as we maintain that one line to keep the flexibility open.
No, but I mean, which portion of the law allows for any type of business?
I believe on the
on top
listing
of the 15
yeah.
or 14
where
that's
it
already
lists
listed?
the eligible projects, I believe the final bulleted item is that one general statement on the original law. I believe it's the very last item in that listing of eligible projects. Because there's a listing of eligible projects and the same listing you'll find, but with the minimum capital investment. So just look for the listing itself. And I'm just working off the top of the
Well,
memory.
it looks
from
like
memory.
these are two added amendments from the House. The one is on that section where it adds any development or project that is beneficial to the economic development, and then on the minimum requirement, it adds any development or project not listed above. These are all new amendments to the law, so we're basically opening it up to more than just the 14 or 15 that we've been operating these past 25 years.
Oh, that's a good thing. But my understanding was that that was already in the law. But it's definitely a benefit to having that in the law. We need that flexibility for sure.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then all these other companies that we have an abundance of, like construction, for example, you know, if we are going to give a QC to all construction companies, then we're really not going to make any money off of that, right? In terms of developers tax, in terms of all these other taxes that come with a construction company being one of them. So again, it was always under our, or at least my understanding, that QCs are only provided to strictly these 14 or 13. And so how does how does CETA really determine what is a company that is beneficial to the economic development of the Commonwealth?
Well, we would just take every application, consider the line of business being offered, the benefits being proposed, jobs being created, and we would just consider it.
Okay. And you don't see that as problematic?
Well, I would see it as being problematic if we were to go out promoting and our QC had restrictions on the type of businesses we can do, because we run into all kinds of businesses right now out there, and we cannot anticipate everything that could come our way. So we would need flexibility. But I agree with that language. I just thought it was in the original law, but I agree with that language. I agree with it.
Thank you. I just wanted to see what your understanding of that is for further consideration by the committee chair. Thank you.
Do you yield your time, Senator? Or are you done? Or
Yes, I
okay.
am.
Thank you, Senator Donald. I now recognize Senator Manny.
Chair, I'll just yield to the next
Okay,
subject.
great. I just have some clarifying questions, if I may, Director. So, real quick, would you happen to know how many appraisers are currently registered in the CNMI?
Appraisers, wow. I'm only aware of like 2 myself.
2.
I mean, one used to be in our building renting space, so I know of only 2. But that doesn't mean there's only 2. I'm only aware of the 2.
Okay, thank you. So, is there an economic index that QC gauges itself to? Do you know if there's an economic index that the QC uses to gauge it?
There's no index that we use. I'm not sure if there was anything that was used to create the law, but currently we don't reference any index when we do QC.
Okay. And how is employment measured on developers? For example, I believe employment on EB5 requires at least 10 jobs. So when you look at the application and the job creation that they propose to have, does the CETA take a look at the requirements on the visa part and make sure that it matches what they're proposing?
Yes, because when they propose employment, like the current ones we're dealing with, they know that because they are coming from the high-tech manufacturing sectors and there's a lot of technical skill involved, they already know that they're going to have to bring in foreign labor in maybe the first 1 or 2 years while they train the local workforce. So that's gonna be a given, and they're gonna have to use the H program as well as CW visa, and they're anticipating that.
Okay.
So it's something that they're aware of and they're willing to work with, but they're committed to training locals. And the QC is likely going to have that requirement as well.
Okay.
Just like the previous ones, it requires resident employment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I know that one of the QC incentive is to tax abatement, right? And I just wanted to, I guess, clarify and make sure that it's on the record that the QC is, does the QC get like IRS clearance to ensure that you know we are because in the IRS there's only a certain amount of credits that you can take up to, right? So in our case, we sometimes give 100% tax abatement for however many years. So we just want to make sure that we are in compliance with the IRS guidelines and there are no contradictions when it comes to that.
We would rely on Rev and Tax for all that information.
Okay,
Yes,
so they are
yes,
part of the
yes.
review
Oh
process.
yes, they are they're the ones who see the BGRT and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah, they certify those abatements.
Okay, great. If there are no further questions from the members with regards to this particular bill, I would like to recommend to the committee to table this bill at this point so that we can allow the director to review the amended version of the House and allow him some time to provide additional comments if he has any, and then we'll go from there. So can I get a motion to table House Bill 24-4 for further discussions?
Motion to table House Bill 24-4, House Draft 1.
Do I hear a second? Thank you. A motion has been made to table House Bill 24-4 and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next, we're just gonna skip around on some bills. I know that the next bill that we have is House Bill 24-13, but I figured that since we have the director here still, there is another bill here that pertains to CETA, and I believe you've already been provided a copy, which is Senate Bill 24-52. We do have the author of the bill here, Senator Manny Castro, and basically this bill is proposing to authorize CETA to utilize its preferred dividend funds to carry out the mandates of Public Law 22-1. So at this time, I would like to open up the floor to Senator Manny to provide some context on the bill and why he's introducing it, and then we'll allow the director to respond. Thank you.
You know, there were some comments made earlier about looking at old laws, and, you know, having been in office just for about 3 years and speaking to some of the founding fathers, one of them specifically, and other members of the community, there's this trend I see within legislation that when we see funds coming in, we try to tap and we keep adding amendments and language. So the original law, sometimes the original law is a lot better than, you know, the years of amendments. And in the case of data, when you look at the numbers now, like with tourist arrivals and all of those, it all comes down to less micromanagement and more giving agencies the letting them fulfill their constitutional duty and giving them the flexibility to carry out what the law mandates. And specifically to this bill, Senate Bill 24-52, authorizing CETA to utilize its preferred dividends to carry out the mandates of Public Law 22-01. CETA is meeting with a lot of high-quality investors. We have a lot of credentialed people working within CETA that look at the numbers, look at the facts. It's not based on feelings. It's based on what's happening right now, and I just feel like it's high time that we give them the tools they need to help advance economic growth in the Commonwealth, and that is why I support CEDA. I believe every other agency as well needs to really look at their mandate and try to understand, are we helping the business community? Are we helping our residents? Does the regulations that they have in place align with the legislative intent of why such laws were created? So I don't want to lose another investor. Right now we have this wave, like Governor Palacios mentioned, when he was alive, is like we need to focus on what we can control. There's a lot of things happening in the world that are affecting us, and some things benefit us and some things don't. But what we can work on is things internally that we can control so that we can improve our economic conditions. And for me, this bill is one of that, by giving the agency that's responsible for economic growth the tools they need to further our economic conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. This particular bill is pretty straightforward, in my opinion. We did get comments back from the AG's office, dated January 23rd of this year. So I'm just going to read off some section of the comments so that the public is aware. So according to the AG's office, they have reviewed this particular bill, Senate Bill 24-52, and they find that it is entirely consistent with Public Law 22-1 in that it provides the specific financial mechanism to carry out the expanded legal mandates contained in Public Law 22-1 to actively promote and support economic development in the Northern Mariana Islands. In addition, the legislation is also consistent with CEDA's enabling legislation, our Constitution, and our covenant agreement with the United States. Under CEDA's enabling legislation, CEDA is empowered to aid in the financing of the capital improvement projects and other projects undertaken by the Commonwealth and its autonomous public agencies. CEDA's purpose is also to serve as the Northern Mariana Development Bank, identified in the NMI Constitution, Article 10, subsection 6C. So that is the comment that we received from the AG's office, and at this time I open the floor to Director Sasamoto to provide any comments or response. Thank you.
First of all, on behalf of CEDA, and really this benefits the entire community as well. This is one of the best bills, most positive feeling bills I've seen recently. And it's going to allow CEDA to carry out, like it says very plainly, to carry out the mandates of 22-1, which put the economic development portion of the economy on CEDA, as well as establishing its department, all the activities and such. And as we know, we've been out very aggressive promoting at the invitation of U.S. trade offices. So this bill will allow us to access funding that is CEDA's funding to use to fund that mandate, because the law, Public Law 22-1, established the mandate for economic development, but unfortunately it did not identify the resources to carry out that mandate. And we always know that unfunded liabilities are very difficult to deal with. And CEDA historically, CEDA is not spilling year over year with cash. It's not an easy task for CEDA to fund operations year over year. CEDA has incurred losses historically and such, and so CEDA also faces ups and downs with finances, though we're trying to be very fiscally prudent in the last 2 years. It shows that as well. But this bill will definitely address the unfunded liability and allow us to continue doing what we're doing. And we no longer have to wonder how we're going to pay for all of this, because it's currently eating into current operations that we don't have any matching revenue source for. And it's difficult enough as it is. And we know that a lot of our revenue comes from loans. And we know that the economy has not been conducive to people going out and seeking loans. We know that even the banks have like a 20-some% loan to deposit ratio. So it's not people are not really pursuing loans, though we actively help the community, right? And we've been executing loans year over year. So this bill will definitely allow CETA to carry out its mandate into perpetuity. And I believe it corrects a situation that I feel was not right. And I think this makes it right. And it's only going to provide benefit to CETA and what it can do, what we can do in terms of bringing investment and you know, hopefully employment here as well. So we completely support this bill, and I thank Senator Castro and the Senate for introducing it and for the Senate for considering it. But it's definitely something that CETA definitely would need.
Thank you, Director, for your comments. I now recognize Senator Donald.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your comment, Director. I guess my question is, how much does your office realize year after year what these dividends are?
So the dividends we are receiving $1,080,000 per year. So about
$1,080,000.
About $270,000 per quarter. And remember,
This is the CUC dividends, yeah?
Yes, and remember, this all stems from the loans that were provided to CUC that were never paid. And it went through settlement agreement after settlement agreement after settlement agreement. Every settlement agreement, MOU, MOA, was never honored. So it eventually led to the preferred stock agreement, which created this preferred stock dividend, 2%, $900,000 per year. But because there was a period of deferred dividends, that's why it's $1,080,000. But actually, the actual obligation is $900K every year. And when you look at that $900K expense per year, I mean, that is a fraction of a percent of that agency's overall costs. So I just wanted to point that out. But it's $1,080,000 per year, $270,000 every quarter.
I guess my next question is, what plans, or if you've already expended them, what have you used the money for in regards to the recent SNIOD appropriation of this, I think, $1 million that went to
So
CUC?
we will be using that funding to fund the Economic Development Department, the staff, all the purchases, all the promotional events that we're doing. I mean, the promotional events are quite substantial too, setting up the booths, even just the designs, everything, the people that we got to take. So it's quite substantial. I mean, even just, for example, one Select USA, remember, the impact of Select USA was tremendous, but we anticipate spending at least $80,000 on that one event. But the returns on the event are huge, you know, because you have to rent the space, buy the booths, the designs, everything, the travel, all that. But we're seeing benefits from it. So it's quite substantial, the costs.
But how were those activities funded in the past?
They just dipped in. Well, there wasn't much. CETA is a lot more busy today than it ever was, I think, in its past. When I was comptroller, the level of activity doesn't compare to today. So now we are just constantly being called all over the world. We are being invited by the United States Commercial Services, U.S. trade offices to go around the world and promote the Marianas, because they literally, multiple offices, we are the best kept secret. They couldn't believe what they learned about us. And they're the U.S. trade office. They were familiar, but they learned more. And really, when I learned all this, I was blown away by what we could offer. So we are literally I could have went on a promotional trip practically every month. We were invited all over the world. Of course, we're sticking to our target markets, but we were literally invited to Turkey, Italy, all over Europe, UK, everywhere. But of course, we're not entertaining those. We're sticking to our targets, but the interest is there. They all want to learn. We're literally going on a 5-country roadshow next month. I'm not looking forward to it. It's going to be a brutal trip, but I'm so looking forward to promoting us, because every time we go and promote on stage, Indonesia, Taiwan, anywhere, the United States, the interest that we get is tremendous. We are literally flooded with people coming to talk to us, to the point where they set up one-on-one meetings with us, but there's not enough time. So there's literally sneaking people in between these meetings. And you look at Lancaster, Texas, Arizona, you look at all the others, they don't have as much traffic as we do. Because in this region, there is tremendous interest to invest in the U.S. And they don't know this, but they're starting to. We're their closest neighbor right here. And if they just do it here, they get so many benefits. So we are very, very active. And unfortunately, it costs money to do this. But that's why I've even said this before in public forums. You have to look at it as an investment. If you just take the simple route, oh, they're just spending money. Like, look at it, it's an investment. You know, and you can see what we're doing out there. And, you know, hopefully the day that we sign these leases and get companies going, people will start to realize it, right? And that's what we're waiting for. And we're getting close. We are getting very close. And so we're just continually pushing. And we really do need this. Because prior to this bill being introduced, literally, I have been wondering as the financial person, even as the director of CEDA, planning out for the future of how we're going to fund the operation. Especially knowing that funds have been taken away from us continuously, 14, 15 million in the last 4 years. You know, that's how we fund our operations, but we just lost all that money. So we cannot invest and earn returns on that anymore. So that's why this source, which is CEDA money, is direly needed. And it will support economic development, only for economic development, which we would have to report to you anytime you ask us how are you using the money. And our accounting system is already set up to account for this because the appropriation of $1 million. So we have separate accounts segregated to account for economic development expenses to be fully accountable, ready to go to report any moment. We understand the benefit of this, but we also understand the accountability we have to the leaders as well as the community. And we take that seriously. And this bill will accomplish a lot for CEDA and economic development. And it still doesn't bar the legislature from appropriating from it again, right? It doesn't bar you from doing that, but it allows us to use it for what we need, right? And it's something that I've always felt as comptroller and as director, it's something CEDA absolutely needs. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I appreciate your response and the work that your department or your agency is doing. You know, I think that prior to any further uses of the funds to continue the effort and the mission of CEDA, we also have to look at some of the concerns we're seeing from the recent trips that you've been making and from the investors that have been inquiring. Take, for example, the production facility that, that is being looked at right now. They are coming up with concerns. I think in regards to public land as well, but also the infrastructure. Right? We keep marketing the cinema as this great place to invest, but the question is, do we have the infrastructure to meet the demands and the needs of these investors? And I think the intention of these dividends was also to address the capital improvement part of the economic development, which I don't think we've done and funded a lot of these improvements to our infrastructure. Our roads, our utilities. We bring these companies, but does CUC have the capability to support these added activity within the island?
See, I'm glad you bring this up because this is one of the biggest points I make as well. If the agency that borrowed all that money simply honored its financial obligations, and they had the mechanism to do it because the money they borrowed built infrastructure that they billed for. So they had the ability to service the debt. They did not honor their obligations whatsoever. If they did, this fund, literally early last year, we would have had $181 million in this fund, constantly revolving. Infrastructure projects, roads, schools, utilities, generators, everything. As of now, we'll have close to 200 million right now. And all it took was for the borrowers, who were public agencies, to just honor the obligation. We would have had this fund funding everything right now. 200 million, literally $200 million. I did the analysis. Last year, 181 million back in February of last year, I believe. But because they couldn't honor it and it was written off, where are we now? We have 500 grand left in this account. We had multi-millions, which could have funded everything we needed to this day. Imagine back then, if we were revolving all of this and it was constantly going through, imagine we would not rely on federal funds for the roads and such. it would be used for, we could use those dividend funds for other things that the federal government doesn't cover. We could have built our schools, rebuilt the schools. CUC would have modern generators. Literally, think about it. But because it was not paid, the obligations were not honored. CETA, in good faith, back historically, entered into these agreements in good faith, and the agencies that borrowed signed it in good faith as well. Yet they never honored it multiple times. And then here comes legislation that just says, okay, we're gonna wipe it out. But the compromise, I guess, was to keep that 45 million out of the hundreds plus million as a dividend. And we're only getting 2% on it. We've only collected 14 million on that. And we've lent out over 100 million. So there's another bill trying to take that away from us again. I mean, what's going on here? We're incentivizing poor fiscal performance, fiscal imprudence, and then we're penalizing agencies that are trying their best to be fiscally prudent. You know, this blows my mind. As a financial person, this blows me away. I understand there's a lot of pain, but we have to find better ways to manage that pain, as opposed to just, you know, impacting someone else. Even like, so it's a tough dynamic, very tough dynamic, but let's not forget how these dividend funds came into play. CETA has not been made whole. And this goes back to the 80s. 28 years later, 30 years later, they paid 100 grand on 107 million or something like that. You know, that was way back then, that payment came in, you know? So CETA needs these funds literally for its economic development activities, which you can see we report on. You know, this dividend fund, there's a bill right now proposing that this dividend fund is preventing a certain agency from purchasing certain infrastructure. This expense is 0.07% of their overall expenses. You knock it down to 900 grand, the actual 2%, it's maybe 0.05, 0.06%. That, as a financial person, I don't see how that is preventing, for example, any agency, that type of expense would prevent any agency from purchasing infrastructure. And by the way, right, like a very schooled financial person mentioned, it's not wise to purchase long-term assets with current revenues. You need financing. But unfortunately, they shot themselves in the foot because they have a very bad payment history with us. So I'm not sure what their ability to get financing. So therefore, they need to improve their operation, get the audits done, you know, make hard decisions to improve fiscal performance. And I know this. I went to the history of me is I went to CPA and PSS and CHCC when they were struggling financially. And we turned it around completely just by finding inefficiencies, eliminating it, and just managing money and living within your means. But for some reason, you know, if certain people leave the agency, things just revert back to where they were. And this is so frustrating for me because I truly believe in public service, you know, to the point where some people tell me I'm an idiot because you give so much for what? But I take this seriously. That's why I really, I'm being sincere when we talk about this bill. And I really thank Senator Kostrew because this is going to make a big difference for economic development moving forward. It's not for me or for CETA. It's for us to develop the economy, create jobs, bring people back. You know, I mean, give hope. I mean, we create one new industry here. The follow-on things that are going to happen, the trickle-down industries, the potential is there. You know, and this is one of the things that's going to support us. And the fact that you all know that we are entertaining multiple investors, and at least 3-4 of them are very serious and very close, already into financing already. You know, it shows that there's a lot. I hope the results can speak for itself. We only started doing this in May of last year. It hasn't even been 1 year yet. And we have all this momentum. So I'm really hoping that the community, the leaders, see what CETA is doing. Because we don't go out there and say, look at me, look at what we're doing. Because we're just so focused on working. I'm so focused on working, I even forget to take pictures at these events. Because all we do is work. And Senator Karina can attest to this when she was one of the biggest contributors to this Select USA event that created all of this momentum. You know, she was there. She was collaborating with us the whole way through. You know, so we are trying to collaborate with the whole of government to make it one government, man. You know, success for all. Each agency's success is success for all. You know what I mean? So we are looking for support to make our agency successful without hurting other agencies. We want everyone to be successful. We want CUC, everyone to be successful. We need to be, you know? But it's not going to be easy, but we cannot, I just hope we don't keep penalizing CETA, for example, and we pass something like this, because this is going to be great for economic This will go down in history as one of the greatest things we did for economic development, in my opinion. Just like how you created 22-1 and created this mandate for CETA to do economic development, and now we have ultimate momentum. That was another breakthrough law, you know? So I really respectfully seek your support to pass this bill. And sorry, I kind of got into it there, but
I understand the frustration.
very,
and I thank you for your comments. I think I don't think we should waste any more time. I do have my concerns that I'll reserve for if and when the committee decides to act on this legislation. But that one we can discuss after the other members have been given their opportunity to maybe ask their questions or get clarifications. At this time, I yield, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Donald, and thank you, Director, for your very passionate comment on this bill.
yeah, I apologize about that. I always tend to get very fired up. And I even realize that
That's
whenever I
good.
promote, I cannot keep still. I keep moving around. And so sorry, but I'm
Well,
I'm
that's-
quite animated, but I sincerely do, I'm committed to this.
Thank you.
It's, when I wear a hat in government, I take that seriously. And I know I'm accountable to all of you. I'm accountable to everyone in the public as well. And we don't take that lightly. It's pressure. This is not easy. Economic development is not easy. And my office only has like 11 people. It's only me and one other person doing this. And prior to that, it was only me. So we are doing everything we can in this little tiny 11-man office, you know, but watching, being inspired by the work you guys do, what all the other agencies are doing, all the challenges we're dealing with, that's why we're so committed, because it's one effort. Everything you all are doing is exactly what we're trying to do as well. Success of the Marianas, right? And so I thank you guys all for what you're doing, and I really appreciate being given the chance to speak, provide input, and, you know, state our case, because I do a bad job of letting the people know what we're doing out there. So this is a good forum for us. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. We do appreciate all the efforts and commitment that CETA has been putting in to help develop, you know, economies here in the CNMI. We in dire need of that, and thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize Senator Manny, and then Senator Cruz. Did you have anything to? Okay, so Senator Cruz and then Senator Manny. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director. That's why this kind of conversation is very fruitful. No, when it doesn't mean that when we raise question or concern doesn't mean that we're always right. No, that's why this kind of conversation is very important, so that we can hear, you know, firsthand from you as the head of the CEDA, and if there's anything that we see that is not working, and you come here and we converse, and we maybe perhaps we can continue this kind of conversation, no, in the future, so that everybody will understand completely what's going on with. And I appreciate your passion and your commitment to make it work, because every time we do public hearing, we tell different appointees to work together, especially with CEDA appointees and SIA, and even with NMTI, because you know, working together, collaborating together will make a better Commonwealth, no? This is a matter of working together, because we have very serious situation right now. Very serious situation. We don't have any other big business that will chip in and subsidize the tourism industry. So I appreciate all the, you know, all the statement and information that you're sharing with us, and I thank you for your you know, devotion and committed to you know, to help the Commonwealth in developing, you know, and have a better economic growth here in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator. I now recognize Senator Manny.
Thank you, Chair. And again, thank you, Director. You know, public comment is a really important segment, and I have the same challenge with you, is sometimes you're busy when you're too focused on something. With my office, it's kind of cost restrictive right now. So We cannot always go out into every agency, but we try to save money to do that outreach. But I just wanted to just make a little bit of clarification of Senate Bill 24-52. Even though I've been in the legislature just for, it's going to be my third year, my time in the House, you know, the difference in the House and the Senate is the House deals with a lot of the appropriations, revenue generating, but the benefit of being in the Senate is you get to choose and confirm people for different positions, and you get to make sure that the operations of the government is because if we're bleeding, no matter how much we appropriate to a certain agency, if we don't look at the efficiencies, we're never going to get to where we need to get to. And so the Senate Bill 24-52, authorizing CEDA to utilize its preferred dividends to carry out its mandates. You know, the thing about this is, in the House, I always see us appropriating into liabilities. What this bill can do is give CEDA the tools to fund assets. Like you said earlier in your statement, which is very, I'm really happy that you said what you said, because that's the whole concept that we're really trying to look into. Like, if you had this, if this bill was enacted and became public law, we can also further invest in our people. We need to get back to teaching our people how to be entrepreneurs. But this is not CEDA alone. This message is also going to go out to NMC, because education itself, we need to teach our people how to be entrepreneurs, link the capital, because we have a lot of people out there that, for example, we import millions of dollars of pork. Like, you know, we don't have, it doesn't have to be that way. Economics is based on, you know, imports and exports. And if we can reduce that 80, you know, maybe it's $20 million in imports of pork by leveraging CEDA's, like maybe a micro loan to the farmers, but at the same time, NMC is teaching them how to manage their funds, how to be a successful entrepreneur. We need to get back to that, because right now our people, when you look at it in all industries, we've been so used to Uncle Sam with the incentives of, not incentives, but the welfare, food stamp, and all of these, that we forgot really how to be the sellers, and we've been too focused on being the buyers. So I don't want to go too much into that, but again, there's no I just feel like it's high time right now. We need to ride this wave while the interest is there in terms of the world, because like you said, there's no other place. I know maybe some of our people still have PTSD with the garment industry, but as someone who studied manufacturing engineering early on in my college career, I could say that the type of investors that are coming in are transformative. So the college at the same time is going to need to upgrade. Our government is going to need to upgrade. But, you know, we're not dealing with middlemen anymore. We're dealing with conglomerates, like those big business. And I would hate to see the same things that happened in the past when you had a CEO of a major Korean corporation land, and it took so long to clear that plane that CEO left and never came back. And the investments that CEO had, you know, there was a plan to invest even further. And again, this is not just about investment. This is about giving our people opportunity. When those industries come in, it's an opportunity for our people to upskill and get high-paying wages. So thank you, Chair. And I just want to also thank you for having this committee meeting, and also thank you for having the business acumen to understand these kind of things, because we really need it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any more questions or comments from the members? If not, I just want to quickly ask. You mentioned earlier, Director, regarding the U.S. Trade Mission, and just so that the public knows, does CETA work with partners such as MVA to ensure that they are also when they go out on those trips promoting the CNMI as a destination, tourist destination, that they are not only promoting the CNMI as that, but also working in collaboration with your agency so that you're killing two birds with one stone? Because when they go to these trade shows or other conferences that they attend, it's very likely that they will run into companies who are also, they may be there for, tourism, but they're also a business mindset, right? So sharing information and promoting the CNMI as a hub, right, to come and do business here, and why, what are the types of incentive that we offer, there's no reason why the two agencies cannot partner and market the CNMI in both aspect. So I just wanted to get you to comment on that so that the people know that, CETA is not doing this alone. That CETA is working with other government partners to ensure that when they are traveling abroad and going to these conferences or workshops or whatever, right, that there is a collaboration and partnership in place, and that they're all on the same page.
Yes.
I know that you worked really, really hard last year to ensure that every agency in the government works collaboratively with your agency, so that when you go out to promote the CNMI, that you have facts, you have accurate information to provide the potential investors that are out there who may be interested.
Yep.
And I witnessed that firsthand. The hard work that you put in, the commitment, like you said, you don't stop, you keep going, right? And you made sure that all the relevant stakeholders were present in those meetings to ensure that whatever you are sharing out there, whatever you are promoting, that all relevant stakeholders will support and can validate. So please feel free to
I'm actually
comment.
glad you asked that, because like you said, we made it a point to, because we knew we couldn't do it alone. And we know that economic development involves all the permitting agencies, everyone, the legislature, everyone. So we made it a point to reach out to the other offices and talk about a spirit of collaboration and creating a culture of collaboration. And let me just tell you, man, public lands, CRM, BCQ, HPO, all those guys, zoning, all the permitting agencies, all the agencies that we collaborate with, the legislature, everyone. It's been so great. And the effectiveness of government when we collaborate, oh my God, we are so effective. Our government is so effective when we are willing and we collaborate. We can do, there's so much talented people in the government. Just the willingness to collaborate. We've seen this firsthand. The permitting agencies all got together, public land, everything, and we got things done so quickly because we all explained the situation, analyzed the issues, agreed to how we're going to approach it, committed to it, and we moved. And with MVA, for example, we've been collaborating with MVA quite a bit. We've even collaborating with even like promotional items and things like that. But even so far as when MVA has visitors from other countries like Japan, Korea, whatever, we literally go along with them and we sit in their meetings, and then we also talk about the incentives we offer, economic development. So we collaborate in that. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any opportunity, any traveling opportunity together. Of course, we'll always evaluate relevancy, whether we're going to be contributing to it positively, because we don't want to go somewhere where it can be determined it wasn't necessary. So of course, as long as it's always reasonable and necessary, we'll be there. But definitely CETA, we definitely want to keep fostering that culture of collaboration in government, because we see it's very effective. And look at what we're doing today. The fact that I had the opportunity to come here and sit with all you senators today and discuss these pending bills, that's huge. That's what I love about the process, right? And there has to be a process like this. And the fact that we're talking, it's not a negative thing that we're coming in here. It's a good thing. It's a very good thing that you all are doing this. It's very good. You're holding yourselves accountable. You really are, so I really appreciate that as well.
Thank you for your response, Director. And I can certainly vouch to your statement earlier that when, the relevant stakeholders come together, right? I saw that firsthand when, before the Select USA, we had a very small timeline to work with, and for you to put a package together, and with collaboration with NMC and all the other relevant stakeholders.
I'll be
My
remiss if I didn't
goodness.
mention Department of Finance, Rev and Tax as well.
Absolutely. Rev and tax was pretty critical in this, right? Because of the tax incentives that we offer. I mean, my goodness, within weeks, literally, we're still putting things together days before we went on that trip. It just shows how much can be accomplished when everyone shares the same vision, the same commitment, the same passion of wanting to help the CNMI so that we can help our people. So I just wanted to share that with the senators and with the public who are listening in, that there's so much work that still needs to be done, but the steps that we take today is paving the way for a better future for our people. So if there are no other questions or comments for the director at this point, we'd like to thank you again for making the time and rescheduling your meeting to be here with us today, to be able to provide some substantial information and validity to these bills before us, most especially the one that 24-52 that we just discussed. And so with that, you are hereby dismissed. Thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to continue collaborating with your office. And there's still a lot of bills that include CETA, right? And we greatly appreciate the value that you add to these comments, because as I've stated in a statement I made yesterday during a KKMP show, that all these bills before us, they are really meaningless if we don't have the relevant stakeholders and the public to come in and provide comments and offer recommendations to improve a bill, right? Because at the end of the day, we have to be mindful that our job is to receive these proposed legislations, review them, discuss them, go through the vetting process with the relevant stakeholders, and then decide what to do with it. But ultimately, it's the people who are really going to be impacted by the decisions that we make. And so I cannot stress the importance of how much we need our people to come in and join us during these committee meetings and provide feedbacks and recommendations if they have any. Because at the end of the day, these legislations are being introduced for the interest and benefit of our people. So thank you for your time.
I'd just like to thank you for allowing me to speak today. You guys have one of the toughest jobs in the entire Marianas. It's a 24/7 job. Many priorities, many pressures all around you, I can imagine. So I would not want to be in your seat, to be honest. It's just very hot. But I commend you guys for everything you have to do, all the priorities you have to weigh. I know it's not, I can imagine it's not easy, but I really admire the work that you guys do, and I appreciate all the support. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. At this time, if I would like to get the committee members' input as to whether or not we are moving forward with this bill to adopt and get it out of the committee so that we can place it on the calendar for action. Recognize Senator Donald.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, can I request for a short recess?
Short recess. So we rise back from recess. Um, at this time, I would like to recommend to the committee that we table the Senate Bill 24-52 for further discussion and allow the legal counsel to also do more research if she needs to. But we would like to get a little bit more information from CETA and have more dialogue on this bill before we move forward. So can I get a motion to table Senate Bill 24-52?
So moved.
Thank you. A motion has been made to table Senate Bill 24-52 for further discussion and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Senate Bill 24-52 is now tabled for further discussion. In the interest of time, I see that it's already noon, and we only really gotten to 2 bills on the agenda, but that was expected. We want to make sure that we are not fast tracking these bills, and we are actually taking our time to discuss important matters on the bill and ensure that by the time we get it out of the committee, that a lot of these issues or concerns have been flushed out. Not that they're bad intended bills, but we just want to make sure that a lot of the issues and concerns are addressed before we get it out of the committee. So if there are no objections with the members, I recommend that we move on to adjournment. Recognize Senator Donald.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, before we adjourn, I think just if I may propose Senate Legislative Initiative 2403.
Mm-hmm.
If we can probably do a public hearing. I know that the Fiscal Affairs Committee is also planning to hold public hearings on, I think, the retirement bill, and so it would be a great opportunity to
Yes.
kind of schedule also an RED&W committee public hearing on this bill, and also the sorry, I'm trying to find that 150
Oh, that's the second
24.
one. Yeah.
39. At least both of that. I think the chair for fiscal affairs is planning to hold a ROTA public hearing mid-February. And
Okay.
so I think those 2 bills would also kind of fit well with that timing. And
Yes.
so at this time, so that we can also address some bills in the committee, I
Yes.
think at this time I would like to motion that we allow for a public hearing on Senate Bill 24-39 and Senate Legislative Initiative 24-03.
3.
So moved.
Thank you. A motion has been offered to conduct public hearings on Senate Bill 24-39 and Senate Legislative Initiative 24-3 and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, so that takes care of the 4 bills that we will be acting on at a later time to conduct additional public hearings to get more feedback from the community. And then the rest of the bills that we didn't get to today, we will table them until the next committee meeting, which we'll try and schedule for, if not next week, the following week, so that we can continue to work on these bills and try to get them out as soon as possible. I know that Representative TJ Manglonia has been following up on his bill regarding the amendment to waive the fees, the daily fees, to remove the daily penalty fees at the registrar's office. So that's definitely something that I would like to prioritize on our next meeting. I would also like to maybe take care of another bill that was introduced by Rep. Manglonia regarding House Bill 24-34 to streamline the business licensing in the Commonwealth by establishing a business startup task force, a digital one-stop platform support center, and a conditional business licensing process. As I believe an executive order that was issued by the administration kind of already addressed some of the issues that, or some of the efforts that are being proposed on this bill. So just wanted to put that out there and let the members know that I would like to focus on those two bills in our next committee meeting. If
Madam
there,
Chair.
yes.
Sorry, I know. Just to help your committee and just to get some bills out, I think if members don't have any issues with House Bill 24-4, I think that's something that we can just pass out of committee, unless the chair would like additional time.
25 House Bill 24-4.
Yeah.
Oh, so we talked to the director this morning and wanted to give him some time to review the amended version of the House to ensure that the concerns that he provided on his comments are addressed, right? Oh, so that's House Bill 24-13, actually, right? Number 2? Yeah, sorry, that was misnumbered. So yes, that's the House Bill 24-4, on number 2 on the agenda should be House Bill 24-13. If the members are ready to move on this particular bill, I see no issues with it. I read through it and it's pretty straightforward. This is an effort to help the struggling business community remove those daily penalties that they continue to incur and allow for those fees to be reinvested into the businesses to help them stay afloat or pay for other expenses that they may have. So I'm open to entertain this bill at this time. If you guys have the time to do so, we can go through it real quick if you want.
I mean, I had no issues, sorry, was this a particular bill you mentioned that the director wanted more time?
Oh, no, that was 24-4 HD1. That's the first one. It was just incorrectly numbered on the agenda.
I mean, I don't have issues. It makes it much more, it provides some type of relief to
yes.
the businesses in this current economic condition we're in. And so,
So
if the
yeah,
chair
if the committee is ready to move on this bill and get it out of the committee.
All right, so at this time,
wait.
Madam Chair.
Hold on. Manny, did you have something?
Are you gonna make the motion? Okay.
Oh.
I just wanted to share that I introduced a similar bill in the House, so I support it,
Okay.
and it's much needed right now.
Okay, great. Yes, go ahead, Senator Donald.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, I move for the adoption of House Bill 24-13 in its current form.
Second.
Thank you. A motion was offered to adopt House Bill number 24-13 to amend the fee structure for the Office of the Registrar of Corporations under the Department of Commerce and to remove daily penalties. And has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. House Bill 24-13 has been adopted by this committee. I would like to ask the LA or the legal counsel to please prepare the committee report for this particular bill so that we can put it on the calendar for action. Anything else? We're good? Okay. So if everyone's ready, I'm ready to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Thank you. An offer was made to adjourn today's committee meeting and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned at 12:16 p.m. Thank you, members, for all your support and participation. Have a great lunch and rest of the day. Thank you.